Hey everybody, this is Alex Krupski back again for episode 8 of the Millennials in Print podcast with Jake Hoffman. Today we have a very, very special guest in Andy Rostermundt. He is a sales extraordinaire, that's his official title, here at Arandell, works with us on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
And we are glad that we got him in the show today. So thanks for joining, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
One of very few 30-year-olds.
Not anymore, man.
Oh,
no, totally not.
So close.
79, so I'll be 42 this year.
Oh, dang it.
That's pretty close to millennial age, right?
Yeah,
I
we
think that's right.
Still the youngest by several years.
Yeah.
So
Several decades.
On the fringe.
Yeah.
So obviously, whole career at Arandell.
That is true. Yep.
So can you just kind of talk a little bit about how you initially got into Arandell and kind of what your progression through, obviously, to your current position has kind of been like?
Yeah. So I've been here for 19 years. Started off in customer service with Wendy Hunjady and her team and worked in customer service for about 2 to 3 years, I think. And then I kind of started getting into the SSR role, and I just realized that the day-to-day grind of just print instructions and putting all that stuff together was not my forte. So at the time, when the Trices owned the business, I went to Jim Trice and said I kind of interested in sales, and at the time we had a sales training program so we kind of got me merged into that. My first role in that was kind of a dual role. I was kind of working on starting the co-mail program in its infancy here. We were mostly doing just co-binding, selected binds, that sort of stuff. So I was working on that, and then also helping out with some of the older West Coast sales reps who wouldn't come in all the time. I would help do their press OKs, that sort of stuff.
Oh, it's got to kind of like know some customers.
Yeah, I got to meet some contacts and get some ideas of how the process would go on and whatnot. So flash forward, you start going on sales calls with some of the guys, sit in on some meetings, that sort of stuff, to kind of get a feel for how things will go. And eventually they just kind of let me go. and it's
spread your wings and flew.
And yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error. And, overall the last, it's really been 12, 13 years of just grinding it out. But it's been a great experience. I love it. I love the hunt. The maintaining is also a big part of it with Arandell, because we don't tend to lose a lot of clients. So there are definitely some great relationships, people that I've been working with for 13 years that I've seen their know their kids and that sort of stuff. So it's been great. But it's I love the day-to-day hunting part of the sales process. It keeps me much more engaged than when I first started in the customer service thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the hunt then. So how has that changed since you first started?
It was 100% cold calling for the first 4 or 5 years. It was, you'd call and you'd call and you'd call and for every 100 calls you might get 2 people that would pick up. That as you grow your business, as you know more people, your network does start helping you out. I've had several clients that have moved from different companies, and so that's helped, and just knowing more and more people. I would say that the clientele as well. Me coming in, in my 20s and early 30s in the sales position, most of the people that I was talking to at the time was 50s, so they had been seasoned veterans. They knew the game, and they weren't going to make a move unless they really felt they needed to. So it was really, telling Arandell's story of who we are and why we're different, making them feel comfortable. And we were able to get quite a few of those to come over. But now, with a lot of those people retiring and moving on, it's completely different. It's a lot of people who don't understand print at all.
Right.
And so now it's not necessarily selling Arandell as a printer. It's just selling print almost. Explaining to them, why they should be doing a catalog, what's best practices, what, and that sort of thing. So it's completely different. It's not cold calling anymore. It's emails. It's LinkedIn. It's it's Zoom meetings. It's totally different.
Yeah, and obviously, just we work a lot together. So understanding that you have sort of a unique, I would say, customer base, or you've carved a pretty good niche about getting some of those, I'll call it like startups or
retailers, right? The e-com stuff.
Those kind of customers. So what have you found that resonates with them? Like when you're first going in and saying, okay, here's why you should print. What are you really referencing that sort of kind of makes that proverbial light bulb go on and be like, oh yeah, I should kind of get into the print?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's something that I necessarily do. I think they've organically found out that they reach a point of diminishing returns on being just digitally native.
Sure.
So the cost to do that, digital ads, that sort of stuff is going through the roof. And so people who are focused just on that, they see
like plateau.
A plateau,
yeah.
Exactly. And so you come in and you tell them that we can do a catalog for 50 cents a piece, and they can expect to get a return of X amount.
Yeah.
And that really opens their eyes, because they're normally saying, okay, well, I'm spending $5 for this, and I'm only seeing this sort of return on it. The dollars. These are smart people, and
quick math.
Yeah, quick math, and they start seeing the value in it, and so then diversifying and spreading stuff out.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer for these companies, and especially with COVID last year. If a lot of them were wholesale, if that was their only other way of getting their brand out there, new customer out besides the digital side of things, they had a large portion of their business because of that. So with not being able to sell at other retailers and stuff.
Do you think that people who maybe aren't really exposed to print, or who are coming in and not necessarily think like print minded is not sort of their first focus, do you think they have an artificially high number in their head of what it would cost to do a catalog?
Oh yeah.
Meaning, like, do you think when like their perception is like, oh, it's going to cost me like $3 a book or something like that?
Yeah. I think the cost per piece, I think, does somewhat blow their mind when they realize, you can do something affordable and with postage, all this kind of stuff, and still get a good return on it, and be able to develop their brand and tell their story. It's not like it's just going to be a postcard and they're only going to have one little image to show it. They can put together an entire catalog and really sell their brand and who it is. And when you tell them, and it's going to only be X amount, and that does open their eyes for sure. But I do think there is a perception that print costs
way more than you think.
Yeah, I mean, inherently people think, okay, well, I'm mailing it, I got to mail it with a stamp. So that's a minimum. It's going to cost me 60 cents plus paper, all this other stuff, and I would say people are shocked when they find out it's less than $1.
All in
for sure.
So.
We've kind of talked about it in every episode so far, and you kind of just touched on it, the impact of last year, of 2020, the year that it was. How did you have to adjust, like, your selling process? It was probably more Zoom meetings, probably same amount of phone calls, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of Teams, a lot of Zooms, a lot of people trying to recover their year in the last fourth quarter, essentially.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people, right or wrong, made some knee-jerk reactions in the second and third quarter, and some people pulled way back, and some people went a little more aggressive, and I think when we look at it this year, there's people who definitely the people who are more aggressive seem to come out of it a little better. But that's industry specific. There are certain industries that they couldn't help themselves. I mean, promotional products, those sort of things. If there's nothing to go, if there's no meetings to promote, there's no need for that stuff. So there's certain industries that were had to pull back, and it'll take a while for it to come back, because you talk to these people now and wonder if they're going to be going to conferences and that sort of stuff. And I think over the last 18 months they've realized that they can get a lot done via the Zooms and that sort of stuff. I would say I certainly have had more face-to-face because of the Zoom. It used to be you back and forth with emails, and now it's like, okay, you got 20 minutes to do a Zoom and knock it out. So I would save
Right.
14 emails, but I think it's a quick way to get in front of someone and be like, okay, is this something that you guys are really interested in? And then you can take it from there. So yeah, I think having those initial kickoff meetings with the ability to have a Zoom when someone's not necessarily 100% sure if print is what they want to do, it's been a game changer for us in terms of getting people on board and comfortable with the process, I think.
Yeah.
Did you see the same thing? So you talked about customers a little bit. Did you see the same thing with prospects? Did you follow that same process? Did they want to also do the Zooms, the Teams, things like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say, once the third and fourth quarter started and people started looking towards wanting to get back into it, the Zoom meetings and the calls and the wanting to get in front of people was there, but most people weren't allowed to travel. So yeah, the prospect side of thing was totally done by Zoom. I don't know how many times I would sit at my dinner table and basically show them like this, showcase what this is a catalog, this is a trifold, and kind of walk people through it, because a lot of them, like you said, are print illiterate and
don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know. So you kind of would walk them through it, and or having to talk to their creative people to try and explain to them this is going to be it's totally different process, print versus the web. So you gotta get your images completely
ahead of time,
different setup and
timeline,
conversions and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's been good, but yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
So.
And do you see it kind of coming back again too, or we're meeting more in person with people? We've had, our press OKs have been slow, but coming back for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely more people wanting to get out, but I would say also on the other hand, there's a lot of people who were happy with the job we did during the time they couldn't come in. So I do think it'll come back, and I've seen it come back quite a bit, but I don't know if it'll be to the extent of
that it once was.
And it once was. I mean, yeah, there's a budget concern there. There's flying. There's a lot of
sunk costs.
There's a lot of costs that go into it, and if the people that are paying the bill don't see a tangible difference, it's something where they can definitely make the choice to cut back on it. But from a meeting side of things, I still see a lot of people just rather doing Zooms, because unless it's a big presentation for a new client in terms of, okay, we really want to get in front of you and bring a team in and show you what Arandell's all about, I don't see that part of it. I see that part, yes, traveling for, but the smaller things that you might used to have had to go on meetings for, I don't know if that will come back as much. And the other problem is that where are you going to meet? Because a lot of them
are not.
They're not all
like
back in the office.
Starbucks.
They're not all. Yeah, there's so many that are just still working from home, or they're doing a rotating schedule where not everyone's in the office at the same time. So I think eventually that will come back, but I think it will certainly take some more time.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the things that because there's a lot of different elements, obviously, this, that go into sort of the printing process. What do you think is maybe the most complicated for a new either prospect or customer to kind of get their arms around? Do you think it's like the timeline? Do you think it's the postage side of the equation? Do you think it's
I would say probably timeline. I think when you look at all the different components that go into it, in terms of analyzing a house file, prospecting, building a model, understanding that side of thing. A lot of that's happening, 6-8 weeks out prior, and then them understanding that it's not something where we just have the paper in stock and it's just okay. You
especially now, right?
Yeah,
especially now.
Yes, especially now. You can't just call up and say, well, I'd like 100,000 of these.
There's not like a buffet.
Yeah, it's not. It's so explaining that process and telling them that there's lead times for all this stuff, and the paper that you're getting is specially made for your specific project. It's not warehoused. It's so. I think those type of things for people who are unfamiliar with printing is definitely the kind of stuff you have to step through. Because there's it's from print to in-home, you're talking 4 weeks, so it definitely does take some time.
Yeah,
but
compared to an email.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, or
exactly.
a social media ad or anything.
Yeah, because in the time that they put together, that catalog, they've already sent out 85 emails.
Right.
Because you're getting one every day. So so it's
one of the things I know that we ran into too is sort of getting them educated on the data side of it. I think is sort of this unthought of at times. Like they're like, okay, this is the paper, this is the page count, and then you're like, who are you gonna send it to? And you're like, we've got 100,000 customers. And then you go and analyze their file for like what's actually mailable, and it's like, okay, we got 40,000 more that we need to find.
Right.
So
yeah, and then understanding what it is. Is this a retention thing? Is this an acquisition thing? 100%. I don't know how many calls I've been in where they think just because they have someone's email address that's a customer, and like and that's
we can't.
It's already
mail
money
your
in the
catalog
pocket.
to their email.
Right.
That's
and
not how that works.
So as well as I do how many people drop out on that sort of thing. So when someone tells you they have X amount of customers, I'm always aware of that.
Very skeptical.
Skeptical, yes. And then obviously partnering with whoever's doing the prospecting side of thing is important, because they're definitely the ones that are successful are the ones who are doing a good job of targeting, knowing who their customer is, that sort of things. The ones that tend to have issues are the ones that you can see that there's some definite issues on the data side that needs to get.
You're just not going to get the same results, right? If
Correct.
you're sending it to people that aren't there. Or
Right.
whatever, so
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
So Andy, Jake kind of touched on it earlier that you've kind of carved out this niche, specifically with a lot of direct-to-consumer brands. At what point did you really start working with a lot of them, or what kind of patterns did you notice to start moving into that area and kind of carving out that niche? What was it?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It was kind of a twofold thing. It was one, because me being the young guy, I wasn't getting all the best leads, for one. And so
Imagine that.
Classic.
So all the other salesmen had their list was their list, and I've been calling on this place for years. So it was one kind of stemmed out of, there aren't a lot of leads out there, so I'm going to go try and drum up some of my own. And I also think at the time I could see that there was a lot of growth in those businesses, and I'd be interested to see, what they could do if they branched out from just their direct-to-consumer thing. So a lot of it's probably about 20 or so a year of new launches that I've done. I know the company itself has done more, but a lot of those is just reaching out on LinkedIn and kind of doing a quick little pitch to the owner or the marketing people, and just say, we've launched so and so, and here's kind of the results, and you don't always get a response back, but you can kind of see, whether it's your Instagram feed or whatever, who kind of are the people who are out there who are pushing the ad spend and that kind of stuff. And so you kind of have a feel for who's trying to grow and who's not. So those would be the people that I would hit up. And then, if you have success with one, you try and do another and another. And so, because these brands are no different than others. If they see one of them do something, they're all going to kind of copycat it a little bit, right? So it became one of those things where, okay, well, this company is selling, women's undergarments or whatever, and so you get them on board, and then all of a sudden there'd be 10 more companies that are starting up that are just like them, that all want to try and do the same thing, and so you'd be like, okay,
here's the roadmap.
Here's the roadmap,
Right.
and so you would do that, and at the time I was working with some people from Epsilon and some other people out there that we would kind of kind of use each other as a sounding board of this is the best practice for a catalog launch, and they would talk about the data side of thing, and you could kind of go at it that way, and it worked out well. I mean, we were able to launch, quite a few, and now it's just kind of, it's a perpetual thing where you just kind of keep your eye on it, and so that's kind of where my start came on that sort of thing. It was just surely based off of need to survive,
right?
Feed my family,
feed the family.
So,
and so what are kind of some of the things that you like to hit on in your conversations with them when you're first meeting with a brand about potentially working with them? Obviously, ROI, improving their sales, is going to be very, very important. But I'm thinking more along the lines of how print is environmentally friendly and some of those things. Are those some of the things that you hit on, or what are the other ones?
That totally. Yeah, there's definitely those companies that are out there that are, the 1% for the planet type of people, and so you can speak to the fact that what we're doing here at Arandell is very environmental friendly, and this is the list of clients that we work with and why they choose to work with us, and so it takes the guard down a little bit on maybe some apprehension they might have of getting into print and killing trees and that
the
sort
Lorax.
of the Lorax.
The Lorax one, yeah.
Yeah, and so that definitely helps. I think getting them to understand, and obviously I don't make any promises on the ROI or anything like that, because most of the time I don't know that until after the fact. I might have a conversation with people and try and get an understanding of, okay, this job,
here's an average, industry average.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we all know that, if this is a complete startup and it's a prospecting piece and no one's seen this company before, the first one's probably not going to be profitable. And if you're upfront with them and tell them that, and they're prepared for it, that's a whole totally different thing. But then they'll see, okay, the next time we mail, all of a sudden the response was better, and you
can refine
and then
the
exactly you're massaging the levers, and you're figuring out what's working, what's not working, and then and so if you can not tell them that it's going to be that you're going to hit a home run right off the bat, but if you can get a couple singles and plot your way around the field, you're going to be a lot more successful. So I think that's kind of the framework that I like to go in with, because there's nothing worse than telling them that this is going to, you're going to crush it, and then they'll be like, well, we never should have done this. This is the worst thing that we've ever done.
Yeah. To me, it seems like the perception change from the catalog is the sole revenue driver to now it's another arrow in the quiver.
Yeah.
And when you frame it up that way is what seems to be the most successful.
And then a lot of it is still, it's a driver. I mean, it's a driver to the internet. It's a driver to convert a sale. How they measure it at the end of the day is kind of up to them. But I mean, Jake and I know that you can very well track that, okay, this person got a catalog and he went to your website, and
there's a story.
You have a pipeline there.
Exactly. So if that person goes to your website and doesn't convert this time, that doesn't mean that
the catalog didn't do its job.
The catalog didn't do its job. Exactly. It just meant that person wasn't ready to purchase at this time, but they obviously showed some interest. So
and I mean, one of the things that we've talked about, and just even in being in sales calls together, it seems like if you were to ask 99 customers, right, out of 100, well, they would, when you say, what's the purpose of a catalog, they're not going to say it's to order out of, right? They're going to say it's to drive back to the website. So if we kind of set it up appropriately so that that's the metric of success, is the number of people that are coming back to the website, for all intents and purposes, it's doing exactly what you wanted it to do. And a lot of times it's looked at as well, the catalog only accounted for X amount of, transactions, but they're, I think, missing the bigger picture, which is you don't know what could be happening on the e-commerce side if people are falling out, et cetera.
Oh, there's
a million factors.
There's so many stories you hear of inventory issues, or Amazon bought up
delivery.
I mean,
platform.
There's a ton of there's so many people who said, well, the catalog wasn't successful. Well, they changed their SKUs right before the book went out, and so it wasn't captured. So I mean, it's like, why, that's so
you just gotta navigate that.
Yeah.
So last question, it's one that we ask pretty much everyone. So
is it, what's my favorite swear word?
I think I know it.
We have to change this to an explicit adult-only podcast. Now.
No, we're good. It is, if you were a young person, today, not that you're not young, but I mean, you're 40 now, so, what do you think are some of sort of the key drivers that maybe still exist in the industry today that would bring young people into it? I mean, obviously you've had a pretty successful career. You're still passionate about the industry. Do you think those kind of same things still exist for young people to get into the industry?
Yes, I mean, I do. I think my story's a little different. I chose to go into print. I went to school for printing and that kind of stuff, so I kind of liked it from the get-go, so I'm a little biased in that sense. But it's definitely evolved to the point now that the print part of it is such a small portion of kind of the rest of the story. You really do have to know a lot more on the data side and that sort of stuff to be able to truly speak to the marketing people that their job is to grow their business and to understand it. So they're going to be looking to you to explain what all this means. And so,
not what equipment are you
right?
Right.
300 or is it?
I'll tell you, no one knows what an M3000 is that you're talking to these days, really.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
They really don't. They just want to know, are you going to print it well? Yes. Okay, that part of it's done. Great. And then it's what
I'm
other
just going to grow my business.
what other things can. So I totally think there is an opportunity for young people to get involved and push that sort of side of the thing, because I think this industry is, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years. It's going to be somehow different, and I'm going to have to adapt and stuff. So there's certainly going to be other things out there for all of us to try and learn and grow from, because it's
definitely.
So
what you're getting at is, you needed to educate yourself on what's popular right now from a marketing perspective and your client's business, and that's always going to exist.
And
so if you're into marketing, you should be into print. You have to have an understanding of
I
all
agree
that.
with that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
thanks for coming
any
on.
final thoughts? Yeah, I mean, anything else to share? Anything else?
No, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go
I
Bucks.
love that. Thanks again, Andy, for joining. Thanks again to you guys for joining us in episode 8, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks.